Thank you for taking the time. This means a lot to
Of
me.
course. Oh my
I'm a
goodness,
huge
yes.
fan of fun. I'm a dietitian, holistic nutritionist for over 10 years.
Mm.
And I'm a personal huge fan of your product. I think it's amazing. And I know a little bit about the backstory, and I'm excited, so excited to partner with you guys at the end of the month. So thank you.
We are excited too. I just love other things that we can be drinking, and I love the combinations. It feels very fond-esque to me. Like there's an
Mhm.
aromatic and there's a bitter I mean, they're so well balanced. So you've done an amazing job.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to kick it off. I wanted to hear a little bit about your background on how and why Fond was formed.
Yes. So fond means foundation or base in French, and we wanted it to
Okay.
be the foundation of your culinary and nutritional life. I think too often people divorce their food from their health, although that's becoming more of a common thing for people to think, okay, what I'm eating is the front lines of my wellness. And I love
Hmm.
to see that. But when I started Fond, in 2015, it was after I had had emergency surgery due to gut health issues. And
Hmm.
it was really scary. I was 5 months postpartum with my first
Oh my
son.
gosh.
And I will never forget saying goodbye to him and my husband, just
Oh,
praying to wake up. And when I did in the post-op, the surgeon said, I mean, he was showing me pictures of everything, which I'm like,
hmm.
thank you.
Right.
And he said, you're going to need another procedure in 3 to 6 months.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I was so young at the time and just like, this cannot be the trajectory of my life. And
Hmm.
the lead up to this point was that I had not been feeling well ever since I had Ezra. And
Hmm.
I was going to my doctor and I was telling them something's not right and something's not right. And they just put me in this paradigm of, you're having pain,
Hmm.
you just had a baby, it's gallbladder, right?
Mm.
Like they were just like, that's what,
That's what it is,
and
right?
it wasn't that at all. And
Mm.
so it was really discouraging because I was trying to listen to my body was trying to tell me something. I was trying to listen and I didn't
Hmm.
have the tools
Right.
to do, even though I asked for help. Right. So I just said, my health is in my hands. I have
Right.
to figure this out. And so I did a copious amount of research and found that bone broth spans cultures and centuries, but it's was largely missing from the modern diet. And you have to remember, this is 2013 before any, bone
Yeah.
broth craze came about. And I am a notoriously picky eater, which again is part of the tragedy of gut health issues. And
Hmm.
so I knew if I was going to drink bone broth regularly, it had to be delicious. And I
Right.
also wanted to maximize, okay, I've got this elixir, this liquid elixir. What can I put in here to make the benefits of turmeric more bioavailable? So I did cracked
Hmm.
pepper and thyme and like a little bit of coconut oil, right, to
Yeah.
make that bioavailable. And then shiitakes are a rich source of beta glucan and they're
Hmm.
water soluble. So I put them into the bone broth and just
Right.
let all that goodness infuse into the product. And
Right.
so I went on a 5-week bone broth diet. And you have to remember, it was post-surgery. So it was an
Hmm.
appropriate time to
Right.
eat
Right.
leaner. And
Hmm.
by the end of it, I was eating bone broth based stews, right? So I went from clear bone broth to bone
Right.
broth based purees, like, some
Hmm.
roasted veggies, to eating stews by the end. And I felt better than I felt in my entire life. And when you
Wow.
have an experience like that, you share it. And so I was telling people, I mean, if people had like arthritis, pain, if they were having any GI discomfort, I was like, bone broth, bone broth, bone broth.
Hmm.
And I constantly heard, it's too hard for me to make it. I have to babysit this pot for 24 hours. By the
Hmm.
time I make it, it doesn't even taste good. And I thought, wow, I don't have that experience. Mine does taste good.
Hmm.
And I would love to help people. I felt I had this key that if they just had it, it would unlock something in their wellness journey too. And so
Right.
in 2015, I went down to a farmer's market with coffee carafes full of bone broth and just started giving broth shots out to anyone who would try it. And it's amazing to be sold now, nationwide, and have a
Yes.
wonderful little broth company that's verified regenerative, which has been so important to us since the beginning. So that's the background story and kind of the
Hmm.
why behind why we started Fond.
I love that story so much that you took your experience, you dug into the research, and then you created something that made a change in you. And then for you to
Yes.
be so passionate and excited to spread that word, and then I'm sure to then see other people try it and have
Mhm.
similar like life-changing experiences must have felt so good
Oh,
from like your perspective.
it's the best thing. I mean, our reviews, when our reviews come in, it's my favorite thing to read. My
Hmm.
favorite thing to read is how the broth has impacted people's lives. We had one woman who said everything felt like just nails on her digestion for 18 years. And when she
Oh
drank
my
fond, it
gosh.
felt like silk. And she
Oh,
was just,
that's
and I just
amazing.
that I don't understand that pain exactly, but I've tasted a little bit of that. And just
Right.
to know that we've like helped. So, I mean, that is like 100% why we do this.
Even for the postpartum mom who maybe isn't experiencing pain like that, but is just not just, but is postpartum.
Yeah.
It's like to be able to throw that on the stove, heat it up in a couple of minutes, and know
Easy.
that you're, like you said, it's like you're getting such nutrient density in there and also flavor. Like it tastes good and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to work that hard to make it. It's nice. It's really, really nice for so many reasons. I'm so curious, what was the first flavor that you brought to the farmer's market?
So the first flavor I created was the shiitake, shallot, and sage. I
Okay.
was just needing that extra immunity boost, right? I
Yeah.
was post surgery and just needed a little something extra. And then it was very natural. I started dealing with some inflammation as I was
Mm,
healing. So then I did the turmeric, cracked pepper, and thyme. And then
right.
was as things were healing and kind of getting back together, I was dealing with some gut flora, fungal imbalance. And so I
Hmm.
did the lemon, garlic, radish, and onion to kind of
Mm,
bring some
so
antiviral,
smart.
antibacterial. And from there, then, just wanting to focus on the digestion, I did the fennel, apple cider vinegar, and bay leaf. Gave
Hmm.
myself a break from the alliums and some of the more FODMAP triggering foods,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just something easy. And that was really great. And then ended up with creating the beet poblano and serrano. And I always, nitric oxide is super important in
Yep.
healing, right?
Hmm.
But I
Getting
don't
that blood
like,
flowing
yeah,
as effectively as it can, right?
but I don't like the taste of beets. And so how could I get this flavor and infuse the benefits of these beets into the broth? And I played around a lot, and I found that when combined with these blistered poblanos and the spicy serrano, that it
Hmm.
actually read like the flavor profile of a tomato.
Mm,
And I
instead of a
was
beet.
like, delicious, and
Great.
then started checking it. So that was how it came about. It was really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'd created other flavors down the road postpartum.
Hmm.
You're right. I have 5 boys now. And
Yeah.
so, and I
Boys.
never needed that second surgery. And I think that's so important for
Right.
people to
That's a
know,
great
is
point.
that healing can happen and be so impactful, and you don't have to go back to that place. And I
Hmm.
do eat differently, than, than a majority of people, but it's
Hmm.
worth it for me to
Right.
do that. And so yeah, the flavors just came about very organically based on kind of what I was dealing with and
Mhm.
my health at the time.
Before you created Fond, were you big in the kitchen or you kind of like
I
did all this research on these
Yeah.
are ingredients that give this benefit? How can I combine? And then like
Yeah.
got creative in the kitchen on how you can combine them to make it taste delicious.
So I had always wanted to go to culinary school, and I
Ah.
had kind of that calling, but
Hmm.
was told I needed to go to school first and finish and get my degree. And I've always been fascinated with flavors. And I really tell people my family was so artistic. My husband's family was so artistic, and I am not very artistic, but I found my medium in the kitchen, right? And
Kitchen.
it just
Hmm.
made sense. It was just like A plus B equals C, and that's how my
Yeah.
mind works with flavor. And I'm very curious. And so when I was learning about turmeric back in the early days, I was like, well, how do I know I can absorb it? How do
Yes.
I know? So then it's just kind of following those breadcrumbs of, okay,
Hmm.
this is good for me, but how do I know it's a good quality? It's not contaminated with lead, just kind of
Hmm.
going, I'm very thorough. And so was just fascinated by it and really enamored with how these flavors might become more, I think of avocado and tomato, right? The pairing, increasing the presence of lycopene, and just how flavor can do that is so interesting to me. So
yeah, that's so cool. I'm so amazed, and you're inspiring me in ways I'm like, I gotta do some different things in the kitchen. Okay, so one of the things that I read is that you use parts of the animals that others do not.
yes.
Is why aren't they used in other broths, and why do you choose to use them?
So one of the things we found out as we grew, and I want to be clear that we didn't try to find this out, but was actually that a lot of bone broth on shelf, even the organic ones, are not made with slow simmered bones. They're a rehydrated powder or
Ah,
a constituted demi glaze.
mhm.
And that was, it was almost an aha moment for why our bone broth tastes so much different than other bone broths that are out on shelf. And customers, would just be shocked about the difference in the flavor. One of the reasons that we use different parts of the animal is also so that we can get a better collagen extraction. So one of the things that we use in our bone broth are the wings and the drumsticks. In addition to the carcasses and of course the feet. Everyone, everyone knows to use the feet, but there are these other parts too. And especially using the carcasses, if you think about it from the farmer or the rancher's perspective, they're getting the thighs, the breasts. They can sell the drumsticks and the wings. What are they going to do with what's left over? And that's a perfect base for bone broth. So that's one of the main things that we use. And then of course, making sure that our bone broth is actually made like the bone broth you make at home, right? I mean, it's slow simmered and it's a slow extraction.
It's
and
not powder based or gel based, like you
yeah,
said.
and of
See,
course,
I had no idea about that. That's
I
something
know
new that I learned.
it's disappointing. And customers are, starting to ask, hey, is there any hydrolyzed collagen, right? Is there anything that you're like kind of reconstituting? So I do see customers kind of wising up to the fact that might be at play. And obviously that bone broth that's been dehydrated at some point was bones simmering, but I just think it's, once you change that state so much and you go from a liquid to a powder and then back to a liquid, there's some definite nutrient degradation there. So, yeah, I mean, and one of the things is we love to see ourselves as partners with our farmers. We support several, I mean, I think the latest count is 46 regenerative farms here in the US. So not in Australia or New Zealand, here at home. And it's just fun to be able to help use parts of certainly the chicken, but also, the cow, because we do grass-fed, grass-finished beef bone broth as well. They're just not sold in at least as high a volume, right, as the other parts of the animal.
That makes sense. Yeah, your beef cayenne is like, I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. Okay, so I think you touched on a lot of this, but what else makes fond different from other bone broths? Like I know your packaging is different.
Yeah.
And why?
So when you start from a place, I love that you said you lived this, right? When you start from a place of lived experience, you do things differently. And I read things like chemical packaging today. I knew that glass was the only inert substance. And that means that nothing from the glass is going to go into the bone broth. Nothing can come through the glass into the bone broth, not even ink from a label or the packaging. And what most people don't realize is one of the reasons that shelf-stable foods actually expire is because the ink from the label eventually absorbs into the packaging and potentially into the product.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yes, and one of the main reasons for recalls on baby formula is actually due to ink contamination in the formula.
Oh my God, no clue.
So yes,
wow.
These are the things, when
Wow.
you get bored, read chemical packaging today. So it was just one of those things where I wanted this to be a safe product. I wanted people to be able to trust this product.
Right.
I know what it's like to need something that is not going to harm your body and to be kind of on that precipice where you're almost nervous about the next thing that you're going to eat. And so I really wanted Fawn to be safe. And so we that's why we're in glass. You know, we
Mhm.
wanted it to be no flavor contamination from the cardboard leaching or the plastic leaching into the product.
Yeah.
Microplastics are a huge problem. They've been found on
Yeah.
Mount Everest and the, you know, the deepest parts of the ocean.
Mhm.
And we wanted to help avoid that, you know, as much as we could, right? And so glass packaging, stainless steel lid, only brewed in stainless steel kettles,
Mhm.
everything that we do, right, is plastic free. So,
Yeah, and that's such a
um,
concern, I feel like, with broth too, or really, I'm sure certain condiments and things too, is when you heat it and then you heat fill. I mean, I know that, some people, some brands would cold, maybe make it cold and
yeah,
then fill it, but like
yeah,
there's an issue there with the leaching also from the packaging.
yeah. And, you know, you can get BPA free things, but then what's
Right.
in
Is
the
it BPS
alternative? I mean,
instead?
yeah, it
Right.
becomes just like, it's so much easier to just to not do it at all. And it is possible. And I think that's one of the
Mhm.
things, you know, we're not necessarily out there to be the highest selling, fastest selling bone broth company. Like we want to
Mhm.
be the highest quality brand that customers know is safe and they can trust. And so when that's your goal too, you do things a little differently, right? You don't have the
Yeah.
pressure of like getting your raw goods as cheaply as you can get them.
Mhm.
So you can grow as fast and have as low a price point as possible. So
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so admirable that there are so many things that it feels like you knew that this product had to be from, the ingredient quality, the organic veggies, like you said, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or, the quality of the protein and the regenerative farming partnerships and the packaging, like everything that could be an obstacle and people would say, oh, just put it in this, or just get regular veggies, not
yeah,
organic, or things like that. You
yeah.
just stuck to it. And I think that that's super admirable. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
of course. One of my questions was where did the word fawn come from? But now I know. I wanted to ask one more question, and I just had a couple quick rapid
Yeah.
fires for you. So, as a female business founder and a parent of five boys,
Mhm.
what are one or two tips of it or advice that come to mind for other moms, maybe that were in your shoes and are feeling
Yeah.
passionate about something and want to start a business?
So, you know, I think a lot of the ways that Fond was created and made was to leave the world better than I found it. And
Hmm.
that's a large part because of my boys.
Hmm.
And I want other moms to know that being a mom will make you a better business leader. You will
Hmm.
create a better product. These worlds are not, you know, we can think I'm either a good mom or I'm a good business owner, or I'm either a career woman, right?
Hmm.
Or I'm mom first. And I always knew I was going to be mom
Right.
and believing and having harmony with the fact that my boys are going to be better off because I'm going to be a better mother because I did this, because, you
Hmm.
know, a lot of this is for them. So I
Right.
would say, you know, seek harmony in that. It can be hard to develop that. One of the things that, you know, is to also recognize when you need help. We have a nanny. People
Right.
always say, like, how do you do this? We have really good help. I have an amazing team at Fond. I have an
Hmm.
amazing team.
Right.
And I have an amazing team at home, right?
Right.
My husband and I are on the same page. That's so important. It took
Hmm.
a couple years, right?
Yeah.
It's not a thing that
I
happens
understand.
overnight.
My husband is the co-founder of Sound, so I get
Yes.
it.
And so, you know, it can take a while to figure out what's right, but
Right.
being gentle with each other and having a
Hmm.
good team at home and a good team at Fond has made the entire difference. And it wasn't always that way. I wasn't always good at hiring. You know, it's a muscle you have to exercise. And so I think
Hmm.
being gentle with yourself when you do make mistakes, because of course you will,
Right.
and not taking those failures as signs that you should be done, but signs that you should grow. And I think,
Hmm.
and that you can grow and that you are growing. So, also, you know, I always say this, have a really good lawyer. We have
Yeah.
had, that has been such a huge difference in our business. We had a not great lawyer, and then we had a
Hmm.
fast but sloppy lawyer, which was worse.
Mm.
And then
Interesting.
we finally found the right legal team, and you
Mhm.
will always be doing something contractually, whether it's,
Right. Yep.
buying goods or hiring people. I mean, and
Right.
from the way that you organize your business to even, equity agreements, things like that. I mean, it
Yeah.
is so invaluable to have a good legal team, and it's worth finding that. And
Mhm.
it can be, it can be hard to do that, but it's
Mhm.
worth it. So that's the other
That's
practical
such a
piece.
good point again. Like people don't make that point, but that's so true. And it goes along with your general theme of like surround yourself with a support network. Don't expect that you're
Mhm.
doing it all, but kind of like
No.
learn what your strengths are in different aspects and maybe things that other people might do better and figuring out
Yeah.
how to feel comfortable hiring them and then working together as a team,
Yes.
not feeling like you have to do it all in every aspect of life,
I know, moms, we
which
always
is
think
tricky.
we have to do it all, and it's okay. We don't have to do it all,
Yeah,
and we're still good moms.
I agree. Okay, I love it. So just four quick rapid fire questions and then I'll let you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fond flavor of the moment, if you can pick one?
Mm. So I love, especially in the summer, I love our flavor nopalito. So it's actually nopal, cactus,
Okay.
habanero, and cilantro. And
Mmm,
it makes
sounds up my alley.
it is so delicious. It's a great base for gazpacho. So like
Okay.
it was 90 here yesterday.
Oh my
And
gosh, really? It's like 40 here today, and we're like, "Ooh, it's a nice warm day out."
I know. So I just being in Texas, I love cold things. And then it's a great base for salad dressings. And of course,
Mhm,
soups in general. It's delicious to drink it on its own. And it
mhm.
also just has the cilantro in it, which I mean, we're gonna encounter heavy metals in our world. And so
Right.
I always like to be eating and having as much cilantro as I can. So
Remove, detox.
yeah.
And then what is your morning routine? Do you have one or like one or two non-negotiables that must happen in your
Yes.
morning?
So this is kind of funny. I actually jump rope.
Oh,
I
that's so cool. I've heard that's amazing for you. Like it's
yeah,
very, I
yeah.
don't remember what the benefits are, but I have to imagine it's amazing for like getting your energy going first thing in the morning.
Yeah. So I mean, I noticed, and I actually dry brush and I jump rope. So dry
Mm,
brushing was one of those things that I used to be a person who like I had a really hard time with temperature changes. So
okay.
maybe like indications of some hypothyroidism or things like that. And
Okay.
dry brushing really helped to stimulate lymphatic flow and my
Right.
circulation to where I was like, I'm not cold anymore. I mean,
Wow.
it was incredible. And then yes, the jump roping for the rebounding and just getting energy flowing. So it's kind
That's
of a funny thing. I
awesome.
wish I had like an amazing yoga routine, but those are the things that I do. And then the other thing I do is of course bone broth before
Hmm.
anything else. I
Okay.
just think it's really important to kind of coat that gut before there's anything else that
Right.
happens in the body. And um, then I have a lot of water. So at
Hmm.
least 16 ounces of water, usually with some lemon juice in it. And
Okay.
I find that coffee after 10 is better for me. So I'm not
I
someone who
hear
can
that.
caffeinate like right away.
I'm the same way. If I start too early, I feel like I need it more throughout the day versus the water. I've done
Yeah.
your broth in the morning too. Um, yeah, I totally agree. And I love that dry brushing is such a good reminder. I bought a dry brush a long time ago, probably
Yeah.
like 6 months ago. Like off, probably I saw something on social or something,
Yeah.
and I have it in my cabinet under my sink. So you've inspired me. Thank you for that.
I have probably had it for 6 months before I was like, I'm going to do this. And then it's so easy. It's 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, it's the easiest thing to do.
And you
So
see a difference, you're
yeah,
saying, which is
yeah.
like it motivates you to keep going. And what about at night? Anything in the evening that is your routine?
So I actually take the kids for a half hour walk every night. We were finding that we were just like kind of sitting in front of Netflix like more
Yeah.
often than we wanted to be.
Hmm.
And so we just decided after dinner we were going to go for a half hour walk. And that's been a beautiful, just like we'll chat with the kids before we go to
Yeah.
bed. And it's helped us to make sure there's no media after
Mm-hmm.
7 p.m. And so we're
Right.
not disrupting that circadian rhythm. And
Yeah.
we have 2 dogs, 2 Aussies. And so it also makes sure we're taking good care of them. So we do that. And then, getting kiddos to bed. So
Yeah.
that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Sleep stories and tucking in. And then
Mm-hmm.
I love to do a Tulsi tea before I go to bed. So
Okay.
I think it's like it might be holy basil is like actually what it is, but
Okay.
I do a Tulsi rose tea or I do nettle tea before I go
Okay.
to bed. And
Is that supposed to help like with sleep at night, or
I
just
think
like it
so.
helps wind you down?
Yeah, I just love something, to calm down. The Tulsi tea is definitely stress relieving. And if I'm feeling especially still wound,
Uh-huh.
I do that. And then yeah, just making sure again that I'm not on my phone or anything like that. And wind down really starts for us around 7:30 at the latest after that evening walk. So I've been amazed just having healthier sleep habits has
Mm-hmm.
brought, I can remember when I was looking at my phone and I was getting like 4 hours of good sleep a night, which is not enough
No,
for someone who runs their own business and
definitely
like
not, and has kids,
children.
and yourself too.
Yeah. And now it's always like 8.5,
Wow.
and it's just having those boundaries around, hey, it's bedtime. I'm going to start winding down. And
Mm-hmm.
that evening walk helps because we're seeing the sunset. We're naturally telling our bodies, okay, it's time to start, time to start
Melatonin
heading to
up,
bed.
cortisol down. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I often think, we advocate instilling a nighttime routine for our kids so it helps them sleep. It's the same
Yes.
thing for us too,
Yes.
telling our bodies these are the steps I'm doing. I'm taking a walk, I'm drinking my tea. These are the things that are it means it's time for bed, and our body
Hmm.
responds well to that. Um, and then my last question is just, do you have a current favorite meal that you love to make, with or without your broth?
Oh, so I'm really into salads right now, but not
Okay.
like, which is like kind of funny for me. I wouldn't have said I was a salad person, but I
Okay.
love like just hearty salads, lots
Hmm.
of good organic local lettuce, some good
Hmm.
fruit in there, some nice goat cheese. And then I
Yum.
really enjoyed making my own salad dressings. So my husband will grill the chicken, which is nice, and we'll
Hmm.
chop it up and then put it with like a delicious, honey apple cider vinaigrette. And I've
Hmm.
really been enjoying hearty salads.
I
So,
love that. That sounds awesome. Sounds delicious. Well, you've inspired me in many, even more ways in this
oh,
conversation. So thank you so much for creating such a beautiful product that,
thank you.
my mom drinks it, my friends I've sent, after they've had babies and things like that.
Mhm.
So thank you. And thank you for taking the time. And I'm excited, like I said, to partner with you guys later on this month.
Yes, we are so excited. It was wonderful to spend time with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye
Bye.
bye.